Hi, my name is Lori Bay. I am the mother of Cameron Lamb that was murdered December the 3rd, 2019 by Detective Eric DeValcanaire.
Hello, I'm Ruby Watson, and I'm the grandmother for Malcolm Johnson, who was murdered, was it May 2020, I think? Yeah, by the police.
Hi, my name is Naireen Stokes, and I am Ryan Stokes' mother, who was murdered July the 28th, 2013, 9 years ago down at the Power and Light, which I call it the Power and White, because we are so prejudiced in this city. It's totally motivated with Republicans, racists. 9 years I suffer, and they still don't want to give me justice or accountability.
My name is Akil Bay. I'm Lori Bay's husband. I was stepfather of Cameron Lamb, who was murdered December 3rd, 2019. It's the first time in history of Kansas City that a white police officer has been charged, found guilty, and sentenced for killing one of their citizens.
We talk about accountability. There's so, and I've had so many conversations, family members all across the country, and the one thing that they keep saying, they want accountability and they want justice. You've been listening to this conversation, and obviously the district attorney, will they pursue those charges, is one thing. But in many of these cases, these officers are still on the force,
Yes.
never fired,
Yes.
never disciplined, not having any real internal affairs. Just share from your perspective just how frustrating that is when they want the public to abide by the law, by decency, and have respect for the law, but the law doesn't have respect for community citizens.
With my grandson, he went to the store. I'm not saying he was perfect, but he went to the gas station to get a pack of cigarettes, and all of a sudden the police swarmed in on him. They claimed he had a gun. He had no gun, and they had him down. It was like about 5 or 6 police. There are 6 different videos out there that captured all of this, and no one has been held accountable yet as far as I know, but I think they have an update on something. So my granddaughter, I don't think she really feels like, talking in public about it because it was her older brother. But the fact of the matter that they tried to say he had a gun when he did not have a gun, and somebody tried to plant a gun, and it was a police officer that shot the other police officer and tried to blame it on him. So, and that was on 63rd and Prospect at the gas station at BP.
So one cop shot another cop?
Yeah. Yeah, and tried to pin it on him. They had him down. He was on his back, first of all, and they had his hands, they had his feet. So how could he shoot anybody? But first of all, he didn't even have a gun. But that's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Ryan was killed down at the Power and Light, accused of also having a gun. There was an altercation before that with some white boys from Johnson County, Kansas, that says Ryan and his friends had stolen a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Cell phone never was found, couldn't ping the cell phone. Don't know what happened about the cell phone issue. All I know is next I hear that there was a foot chase and they were chasing after Ryan, saying that he was the person that stole the phone or stole anything. I'm still confused about it to this day. But then the gun comes up, that he was supposed to have a gun and he wouldn't put it down. So they had to shoot him 5 times in the chest. when they come to my house. This is what they tell me. But when I go to view my only son, Ryan was my only son, 24 years old.
Wow.
We go to view the body thinking that they've shot him in the chest and he was shot in the back. How do you call that justifiable? To shoot a young man in the back with no gun. And I'm supposed to believe it. I'm supposed to take it, sweep it under the rug. I'm supposed to be silent.
Right.
Any DA investigation?
None. No video. It wasn't nothing. They treated those people down there. They had also pepper sprayed them. They treated them like it was back in the 1960s.
Wow.
That's just wrong. That's just wrong. You know, I see wrong all in it. I see dirt all in it. I've went through 2 chiefs, Roland, and 2 mayors, and neither one of them have came to me in a respectful way and tried to give me something. Nothing.
Y'all heard the conversation earlier in terms of what folks want to see happen. What do you want to see change with this department, with this city?
First of all, they need to come and be open and man enough, woman enough to talk to us, the citizens, and hear us out and give us accountability.
Definitely.
Give us the justice. My son's case has not even touched a jury, a judge. It went to a judge that called it qualified immunity. So now they want to say that's I can't do anything. I'm in appeals, just sitting. I'm just sitting, waiting. So I'm confused. What could we do? What should I do? What more can I do?
Well, I'm kind of like her. I want to see accountability. And the sad thing about it is we know that if the cop had been black and the person had been white, that police officer would be in jail right now.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why it takes so long. And I definitely want local control. I have a question for Roland. One of the questions is, how do we get local control on the ballot? Because if we have that, I think that would make a lot of difference. And I hate it. Every time you turn around, there's been a killing by a white officer, and it's a black person, whether it's a young lady, whether it's a young man, in some cases even a kid, and I can't figure that out.
Mr. Martin, my son Cameron Lamb, he was caught on by the helicopters. He was speeding in a direction, and he was speeding pretty fast. So he was caught by audio. Never at one time was he pursued on this chase. Not one time was he ever pursued. He got home, went into his driveway, had a conversation with his roommate, then he proceeded to the back of his home, and he proceeded to back up into his garage. And then he was pursued by, well, not pursued, but there was a plainclothes detective that came to the back of the house. He had eyesight, and my son had eyesight of him the whole time. He requested that he put his hands up. My son did that. So then Eric the Buccaneer, he came from the other side of the home. He went to the back, claimed that he could see my son pointing a gun at Detective Swam, and he proceeded to shoot 4 times in the windshield of the truck. And I'm very angry and I'm very frustrated. So we went to court. The officer, the Buccaneer, he was found guilty and he was later sentenced. However, we went to the grand jury in, I believe, July of 2020. Detective DeBuccaneer, he was found guilty. But my frustration and anger with that is that not one day has this man ever served one day, not one day in jail. He posted a $30,000 bond, which he has literally been out since the entirety of the grand jury. Even when he was sentenced, he got to walk out of that courtroom just like we did because the judge granted, sweetheart, correct me if I'm wrong, but an appeal.
Allow him to stay free pending
Right,
appeal.
yes. So it's just like, I feel like it's not over for us because at some
And
point.
when was this trial?
When is the next trial?
When was his trial?
It was in December. Well, let me see. It was in November. November. Thank you.
So he's been free pending appeal for the last 7 months.
Yes.
Reese, I'm going to bring you in here because we talk about all the time on this show the George Floyd Justice Act, it failing due to sorry person like Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. The point of my qualified immunity, I mean, this is exactly why that bill was so important and why Congress, why the United States Senate, the House did their job, but the Senate failed. And there are people out there who are saying that, you know what, I'm going to sit this thing out. And I keep telling people, look, I understand. But when you look at these critical races that are coming up in November, where you have seats up for re-election, seats up in Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Louisiana, and of course Democrats defending seats in Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and New Hampshire. This is why this has to be an election issue for folks to turn out in order to get this done. Unfortunately, it didn't happen last year, but this is needed for these families to seek justice. But as long as these cops are protected via qualified immunity, they pretty much can do whatever they want with impunity.
Unfortunately, that is the case. And I know that nobody wants to hear vote for more Democratic senators when they feel like they haven't gotten enough return on their votes in 2020. But that's just the reality. You have to just do the basic math. The basic math is that you need to hold the House with a simple majority would be fine there. And you need to get at least 52 votes. Hopefully that there are some people who were previously hiding behind Manchin and Sinema that will come on to the side of getting rid of the filibuster so that we can get a number of things pushed through. But I think there also speaks to the culture of these police departments. You know, I was reading in the case where, you know, the police officer, Daniel Straub, actually, you know, blew the whistle on the fact that the police narrative was inaccurate. And he's the one who's out of a job as opposed to the one who actually shot, Miss Stokes' son, and he's still on the force, or at least it was at the time of this article. So there is so much that needs to be done in terms of just reforming the police culture, protecting the police officers that do come forward and be truthful in these situations. But legislation at the federal level would go a long way.
Larry, this is the issue that, again, we keep focusing on. And look, if you don't have the federal bill, you're not going to get it from the Missouri legislature. And so you have to have some type of action on the federal level.
Yeah, Roland, we've talked about this on your show and a number of these tragic incidents of especially Black folks being killed by law enforcement. And you're right. And Reese just talked about, some people may be sick of hearing the importance of voting for Democrats, but it is important every election. And this November, we need to make sure that we continue the, in terms of the gap between Democrats and Republicans. You talked about having at least 52 members, in terms of Democrats. But yeah, we certainly thought that, there would be some kind of policing reform bill. But you talked about, Senator Scott, who, in many respects scuttled the bill. Right. And we need to make sure that we hold elected officials, obviously they're in the state level, but also certainly in the federal level. And like you talked about the Senate, to make sure that we get something done. And that means people coming out, continue to register folks to vote, coming out to vote, and making sure in November that we have enough progressive Democratic senators willing to pass a comprehensive police reform bill, so that we don't have to continue to hear the stories painful stories of Black families who have to endure this pain for the rest of their lives.
And that, Greg, is the point that we continue to make, and that is when I kept saying earlier, connecting the dots. If we don't understand that you can be working in your local community for one thing, but you got to have action for the city council, you got to have things happening with the state, you got to think happening on the federal level. All of these things are moving in the same direction, but we can't operate in a disjointed way.
That's absolutely right, Roland. And again, for everyone watching this, everybody live there in Kansas City, and everybody around the world watching this, this is the function, the proper function of Black news media. We have to coordinate. It isn't voting or not voting. It's voting and community organizing and house by house, block by block organizing. The frustration, the sorrow, the expression of all the emotions that we're hearing there on the stage, and our hearts go directly to you all because that could have very easily been any one of us. We know that we are beyond sick and tired of it. We are able to fight back when we coordinate. Ms. Watson, when you say local control, that is the thing that these settlers in their criminal enterprise we call United States of America are the most terrified of. Because when people look at each other, it's very much more difficult to be a racist, to oppress people when you build relationships with them face to face. These are cowards. The police are doing the job they are employed to do. This punk, Eric DeValcanator, or whatever his name is, he's being defended by an organization who's headquartered here in Alexandria, Virginia, a stone's throw from Roland Studio, the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. These white boys form like Voltron when they get ready. There's some people in that audience who are old enough to remember Leave It to Beaver. So, you know, Ken Osmond, as you all know in Kansas City, who played Eddie Haskell, his widow has donated the damn proceeds from his book to this white killer. You see, John Henry Clark said it best. He says, at moments like this, blood calls blood, and somehow blood always answers. They're never going to give local control. This is what the federal elections, and Roland is always talking about this. This is why the Secretary of State elections are so important in states. They are lining up to steal the 2022 and the 2024 federal elections. But local control is about not just getting people registered to vote and turning that electorate out. It's about meeting face to face, person to person, and building the type of relationships where you can turn out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, not only to vote, but to boycott. Not only to boycott, but to say we are going to take out anyone who does not support our common humanity. And again, I'll end where I started a second ago. That becomes so much more possible. And we are encouraged so much more in our local efforts when we can connect to the other local efforts. And that is why Black media is so important, because it allows us now to say, it isn't just me in Kansas City. It isn't just me in Oakland or Nashville. It isn't just me in Boston or Los Angeles. I see people around the country doing the same thing, and we have been shown by our open enemies. When we connect, we win.
To each one of you, and we've seen mothers of the movement. I've talked to John Crawford III. I've talked to Tracy Martin, so many others. When it comes to this election next year, are you willing to be the face? What are you willing to do to get these changes? Because what I've always learned is that those people who have been directly affected by police violence are really the most effective voices to get other people to get off their butts and actually do something. And so what, from your perspective, you know, what are you willing to do? What do you want to do when it comes to making these changes with the election happening next year?
Well, I'm willing to do whatever necessary, whichever group that I could get with. They need my assistance to go out and speak, anything in that regard. Because, see, what happened with Cameron, they admitted it through the trial that it was a violation of his rights. So they don't, you know what I mean? And no de-escalation. You can have me talk about anything. Retrain the police, let them be drug tested if they done been out there and used their firearm. that 48-hour stop, without reporting. Come on, we got to change that. And whatever's necessary for me to do, I'm willing to do it, because what they did was wrong. And the culture, the young lady spoke about the culture, was so deep that they knew they was going to be covered by the police chief, even the police chief. Before the trial went on, got up and said, the bad guy dead. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So that culture's real deep. And you keep telling me about all officers not bad. Well, where the good ones? Where they at? Why they don't stand up? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, what I do when I get upset, I write. I just wrote to President Biden a couple of days ago, and I did get a response. Not only do I write the Progressive Caucus, the Black Congressional Caucus, and I contact my representatives, and I just let them know. As a matter of fact, I just sent out some emails today. But the other thing that I would like to see is, I think that we really need to educate people on they say, well, my vote doesn't count. Well, yes, it does. Because even if you don't vote, that's a vote for the person that you didn't want in the first place. And so I think people need to be more politically astute. And also, too, you can get a sample ballot prior to the election and see who's on there, and you need to do your research on that person. And to Gwen's point, just because they're black doesn't make it right. So I want the best person representing me. Now, I did work some campaigns for Obama. I didn't do anything for Biden because I really couldn't get around like I wanted to, but I have done phone banking as well. So, and I will continue to do that, and I will get with whatever organization, that needs me to, I have to sit down, y'all. Yeah, I'll do the data entry, so, I'll do my part to help.
I think that I would just piggyback off of my husband and yourself, get with the organization, see where I can be useful, and do whatever it is needed to, help out with the next election.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Hey fam, Patrol Grooming is a black-owned men's grooming company that delivers on this promise every day to men everywhere. Everything we do, every product we make, is designed to help you to present your best self. It's a promise they've kept since 1991 when they first introduced the Bump Patrol brand, the #1 men's product for a smooth, bump-free shave and silky skin. Millions of customers count on their exceptional skincare products, which can be found at more than 30,000 retail stores in more than 50 countries around the world. Now you can have exceptional beard and skincare products that are as unique as you. Fellas, as we prepare to head back out into the world as COVID restrictions are being lifted, it's time to get our groove back. You can visit patrolgrooming.com to order a Patrol Grooming Box, and do this. Use the discount code #Roland30. That's #ROLAND30 for a 30% discount at the checkout. We appreciate Patrol Grooming being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?